How you doing, sir?
Captain?
Thank you for having Lottie Dottie in my head now. I'm gonna have that the rest of the doggone day. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Are you gonna use your headphones?
No problem.
Not what I needed in my head, but I'm gonna go with it since you buried it there so deeply. Let's see, headphones. Can you hear me? I'm putting my. Oh, that's scary. That noise cancellation is just amazing on these iPods. Is that your computer typing, Ezekiel?
Nope. Is that Sarah?
Probably.
She hasn't.
You can't see or hear me, right?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
I can't hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you, but I don't hear you on this.
Why don't you do your screen share
Okay.
so it can be held there? Because it's not. I'm not a moderator. Mine says ask.
Share screen.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure you can do that.
Do I go ahead and share?
Yes, you can leave it at the first page.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool.
Lottie Dottie.
Okay, I am looking for the screen grabber on this side. I don't see it.
Do you see a little monitor icon?
Yes, it's got a red
That's
bar through it. Ah, there it goes.
Yeah, you got to click it. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
I helped tech support.
Yes, you did.
That guy thought you were tech support.
Yeah.
Here.
He lost
That's
a
a
little
terrible
respect just
icon.
then.
That doesn't make you think it's Sherry. It makes you think that extra monitors are not loud or something.
Excuses.
Yeah, got to have at least one.
Lottie Dottie. We like to party. Cause no trouble. We don't bother nobody. We just the man on the mic. So I'm going to go on mute because it says we're recording.
All righty.
Hi, for those joining us, we will get started soon. It looks like the main stage just ended and folks are starting to trickle in. So we'll get going in a few minutes. For those that are joining, we will get started in a moment. Looks like a few people are trickling in, and I know the main session just wrapped up. Looking forward to sharing our journey with you. Hello, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and I see a few people continuing to trickle in, but we want to make sure we stay tight to time and then try to leave some space for any questions that you have. In full disclosure, we are on a journey, probably the most incredible pandemic pivot of our lives for sure. But using technology, we have created a very different lens. So I will start off and let you know I am Rick Whitted. I'm the CEO of U.S. Hunger. If anyone knows us, you will formally know us as Feeding Children Everywhere, a domestic and international feeding program. And what we found was through technology and a business need to pivot very aggressively, we found our way to becoming America's virtual food bank, a totally virtual, no physical infrastructure. Everything we do, we ship directly to families in low-income communities, seniors in need. If you had interacted with us before and you know anything about Feeding Children Everywhere, this is probably the image you would have gotten. We hosted what we call hunger projects, and of the nearly 150 million meals that we provided worldwide, we did most of those through volunteer events like this, where we would bring in 50, 100, thousands of individuals and pack meals in response to relief efforts. Little known secret was that most of our meals actually went toward local and regional food pantries. So somewhere along that line, we looked for a distribution chain of our own, figuring out how to directly control the feeding through our model. So it's really been interesting with the pandemic. But although I say we've had an amazing pivot here and a very challenging one at times, actually throughout our decade long history, all we've really done is pivot. And so as you look at this time chart, and I not spent a ton of time on it, but starting at our founder's kitchen table with a heartfelt compassion to feed children who were ravaged by the earthquake in Haiti, 10 years ago, and we started packing meals at that table, that kitchen table. We expanded within a couple of years to domestic feeding and launching our Hunger Projects program, and just continued to innovate over time. We have an incredible team who always ask the question, how can we look at and think about things differently? And then back in late 2018, we launched our Full Cart program. And the original idea was, let's be HelloFresh for families in need and just don't quite have enough to make the budget meet with food. We call that Full Cart, the idea being everyone deserves a full cart of groceries. And then the pandemic hit within about a year of that program being launched. And it made us think really differently about how do we operate our business. And for us, that's everything. Our business is a mission, and our mission is the desire for a hunger-free world. And with the wealth of our country, we believe food insecurity and food insufficiency is really unjust. And so we've always sought to tackle that problem. So there's something about a major worldwide pandemic that shuts everything down, that forces you to answer serious questions. And we realized in our program that the one question we didn't really answer programmatically was, why are people hungry in the first place? And so let me take a second as I share our journey and how we use technology to feed people on a virtual platform. If you look at food security, and what you're looking at here is a USDA graph of about 2 decades. So from 2000 to the most current census is 2019. If you just looked at the left, you would see that in 2000, the food insecurity level in our country was about 10.5%. And it bobbled up and down and back and forth. What you saw by 2019, if I could draw a red line across that graph, is that our food insecurity level is right back at about 10.5%. In between, if you see that big spike where it jumped to almost 15%, that's the 2008 recession. And as the census data becomes available for this year that we just came out of, 2020 and 2021, we believe, based on what our data suggests, you will see that spike probably beyond the lines on this current graph. And so the question we ask when the conditions are this, we have been, as a country, focused on feeding families and children and seniors since the 70s, which was really when our food bank model was put in place. And, thank goodness for our food banks. This would be a whole lot worse without those. But we've had that model in place since the 70s. And to add to that, on average, we have spent over the last couple of decades about 100 billion, that's billion with a B, we've spent over $100 billion a year in nutrition assistance. And yet our level of food insecurity has not dramatically decreased. Today, it's way more than this 2019 census, but let's go with that and be kind. It's 10.5%. So roughly 40 million Americans, children and families and seniors, are food insecure or food insufficient at the periods during the year. And we're just crazy enough to believe that we can do better. So on the backdrop of a pandemic, and we woke up one day and from February to March, 90% of our revenue disappeared. So those fun, huge packing events that are full of energy and excitement, you can't really do that during a pandemic shutdown. You can't bring people together for a number of safety reasons. And so we had to think strong and hard about what matters in our business. So I would love to tell you that where we have landed was a plan, and it was an idea but it really wasn't. Our first task was, how do we make our business more efficient with so much less than we have ever had as an organization? And we turned to technology. And what we found was that as we started solving business problems, quite naturally, because our business is the business of feeding people in need, we begin connecting the dots of hunger. And at the time of this, it was nearly 40,000 applicants that had applied online and requesting food. We're way over about 55,000 now, actually. But we created a platform that we're going to share with you in a minute. I have the lead of our programming and technological build out strategy, Ezekiel Brooks, on the line with us. And he's going to walk you through our portal in a moment. So using technology, we have built a SaaS portal that allows us to connect and interpret data on people who have applied. We call them our hunger applicants. And we're able to identify the need geographically. So what you're looking at there is just a heat mapping, cluster mapping model amongst our technology. So we can look down to the street level and see where people are hungry. Sadly, what we have found out is that hunger in the U.S. often looks a lot like your neighbor, and you just don't know it. And so this technology allowed us to create a virtual food bank, fully virtual. And so what we do is we address food insecurity, and because of the layers of data we have been able to collect, we also have the ability to see into and address health inequities in the U.S. by integrating both cutting edge technology, algorithms, and we're on our way to machine learning, combining that with a national distribution chain. We have got 4 fulfillment centers across the country, and we deliver food boxes. And also, we're very proud and excited to now be delivering cold insulated fresh produce, which includes leafy greens and a variety of fruits and vegetables and herbs, right to the front door. Those are packed on our farm. So we're so excited that we're delivering farm to table to families otherwise that could not afford that service. So many of us take Amazon and Instacart for granted and use that all the time. Many of the families we serve don't have that luxury. And so we're really pumped that we can provide that to them. So at the backdrop, here's what I said we came into February of last year with. By March 1, we had lost 90% of our programmatic revenue. And we had a model that was literally just completing its first inaugural year, our full cart program. And we basically had to recreate a brand new startup business right at the pandemic from nothing. And so we started that journey with technology. And by the end of the year, I would be really excited about it in a normal world. I'm still so excited and grateful for it. But by the end of that year, losing most of our revenue, we created a brand new program that accounted for almost half of a normal year's revenue. So we've got a long way to go, but this could not have been possible without technology and what we're going to show you in a minute. So here's what we did from those set of circumstances. We have fed more than nearly a quarter of a million families. 100,000 of those individuals are children. Almost 50,000 are seniors, 250,000 individuals nearly. All over 65,000 homes have received a box of meals, which is 125 servings, feeding a family of 10, a family of 2 for up to 3 to 4 weeks, and a family of 4 for up to 10 days, and or a fresh box of produce that's 10 to 12 pounds of produce. That again, it's cold, leafy greens, fruits, and vegetables and herbs. Over 1 million pounds of food donated, 9.3 million meals provided, and again, our applicant volume continues to increase. And we're virtual, so you don't see our line. Our food bank line doesn't look as graphic as the ones you see on the news, but that number you're looking at, which is a couple weeks old now, actually, we have more than 39,000 people in our applicant queue waiting to be fed, waiting to get support and or help. Some need it temporarily, some need it for a longer period of time. It just really validates that even though our food bank is virtual, the need is just as great as the ones that you're seeing on television. And so, you know, what happens when a combination of a global pandemic and a CEO's desperation for just-in-time clear reporting, going from 7 or 8 systems that don't speak to each other, and manual reporting, and this is just the world of nonprofits oftentimes, and small business owners without a lot of that technology. What happens when you accidentally lead to a clear way of understanding what hunger really is? That happens when you really use technology to integrate your entire system into what you do. So again, for us, it's feeding. And the fact that we can improve our business means we improve the way we help people who are food insecure or insufficient. And so I'm going to turn it over to Ezekiel Brooks, who again has just been really the mastermind behind this for us. And he's going to share our portal, and we'll have a little back and forth here and wrap it up. And hopefully, I see Joy joined us. We're going to let her moderate some Q&A. So Ezekiel, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, and good morning, everyone from Orlando, Florida. I know many of us are in Texas and the coast and everywhere in between, but thank you for your time this morning. I just want to take you on a little journey of the technology piece of this in the context of feeding people. So there are some core competencies that we had to conquer, and technology and feeding. Rick, if you could flip to that slide for me. And I want to talk through the bird's eye view of what we had to do. And if you don't have it, I can come to it. But essentially, most of our problem revolved around an abundance of data. As Rick mentioned to you earlier, we had over 50,000 folks in our applicant pool. We've done a great job, I believe, in collecting a lot of core data and core competencies about those folks. Well, let me put that slide up for you so you can see it. Let's see here.
And as you all can tell, I'm not the technology arm of this organization for sure. Sorry.
Oh, it's all fine. This is a new platform for everybody, so it is all good. So we'll jump over the screen one here on my side. And let me jump to the slide that I wanted to show you all as I talk through these competencies here.
And while he's doing that, I will add that the backdrop to this, long before we did any build out, we spent hours of Ezekiel and our tech team and our entire team talking very intricately about our business and what we do. And so what I'm really excited about is that our product really matches the hard work, the thinking, the creativity, the day-to-day nuts and bolts of what our team does. And so if you're going down this journey of really using food to create efficiency, or using technology to create efficiencies and or transparency in your food or food related program, I would say really take the time to have a lot of conversation about what it is you do. And you know, that was really the backbone to us really getting to where we are today.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Rick. So in talking through the core competencies required for nonprofits and even for-profit organizations to utilize data in such a way that we increase our efficiencies This graphic shows you the core competencies that we have built out and continue to build out as we enter a new era of learning to fight hunger and food insecurity. At the top in this circle, you can see here hunger applicant data. I think most of us have that. In our case, we have years and years of data that is very valuable in helping us in this fight to isolate and target those that are most vulnerable. There's a donor matching component that we're working on because most of our activity is almost fully donor funded, virtually all of it now since the pandemic. And so it's very important for our line of business to make sure that we match donors with their interests in feeding. For example, if they want an older demographic in New Jersey in a specific area, we can tell them that. We can tell them from our applicant pool who's in that area that they can help. And so our paradigm is shifted to one of hunger is could be a next door problem. It's right in your neighborhood. It's about caring about and feeding your neighbor. Geomapping and visualization, which we're going to jump into shortly so you can see some of these things I'm talking about, where we can analyze from a geographical perspective what is going on all the way down to the street level in neighborhoods and food deserts and opportunity zones. Machine learning, which for those of you who may have heard that term, what does it really mean? It means to teach machines to process patterns the same way we do. And it's a recurring training loop where all of your business core competencies are fed along with the data set into software that then makes decisions based on how we would do things. For example, setting priorities for applications, determining whether there's fraudulent attempts, determining whether there's a ultra critical batch of applicants that pop up in a certain area of the country and that sort of thing so that we can get right on it and get them help. Predictive analytics. When are our donors likely to give? When are applicants likely to have food insecurity issues? We can look down by the month, even down to the business week. Big data heuristics and reporting. Obviously, you don't know what you don't know. So very often from a technology perspective in helping a nonprofit, in this case, we're partnering with US Hunger, there is so much information, it's virtually impossible for a typical size staff of, say, 15, 20, 30 people to analyze all this information. There's millions and millions of data points. And we need help doing that. We need the reporting as well to get notifications about what needs to happen. Of course, shipping and logistics for us is a very big deal with several warehouses scattered around the US. So with that, I'm going to just jump into sharing with you a couple of highlights in our portal that we've been working on. This portal is available obviously to internal staff, but it's also available to our partners who are funding feedings and also to other food pantries, local food pantries who may be brick and mortar, but we provide a virtual complement or virtual solution for them. So as we log into the system, we have all the typical core competencies so that we know how we're doing, donations, orders, that sort of thing. So, but I want to focus in quickly because we don't have much time. I'm going to focus in on the analytics screen, which is where the staff works most of the time. So this geomapping component of the system allows us to see from a national perspective what is going on. The green dots represent clusters of shipments, and I'm going to switch to year 2020, which has a much larger data set. But these clusters, these dots, allow us to drill down into the system to see how we're doing. So in this particular case, because we're in Florida, we typically like to drill down into this area. But since you're in Texas, we'll jump over there. And let's just pick something to drill into. I guess we'll go near the Austin area since that's sort of where everybody is, most of the folks. And as we drill down into this, we're able to see exactly where we've made deliveries. That's what those green dots are. We can see the districts and the zones. We can drill down to the street level. So for example, in Fort Worth, in that area, we'll just drill down a little more. And we can begin to see clusters of where deliveries have taken place, who did it, how we're doing the distributions. I'm going to zoom back out just a little. Hopefully this is not dizzying you. I know over these internet connections, sometimes it can be a little disorienting doing a lot of scrolling. Let me see if I can find the Austin area here real quick.
Is
Dallas.
it zooming in for everyone?
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully everybody can see that.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
So I'm trying to find, well, we'll look outside Dallas. How about that? And so in the Fort Worth, Dallas area, we can see the deliverables. Those are the green dots, the clusters. We can obviously, we can drill down and change the zoom methods and that sort of thing. You can see street level, even down to neighborhoods. You can change your map layers depending if you're doing analytics. You may need different views. You can see street level, where all of the clusters of deliveries have taken place. You can also see opportunity zones, which is very important to some of our partners. Let me zoom out a little for that one. So in the Dallas area, these are the opportunity zones that the system has found that are active in that area. In this particular case, we can turn on partner offices so that we can see where everyone's located. So for example, we could nationally, there's quite a few partners. We have hundreds of them. But in the state of Texas, all of those pins represent partner locations. We can also, conversely, we turn those layers off. We can also see need, or what we refer to as our hunger applicants. And so they show up as red dots on our map. And it looks like we are a little bit slow here for some reason over our internet link. Well, we'll give it a second. It'll show up in due time, I suppose. Okay. There we go. So we can see in the state of Texas and around the major cities what the hunger applicant need is. So in the Fort Worth area is 162 that covers this particular district or area. We can also see it based on food deserts. And the way we do food deserts is we show them based on proximity to our partners within 10 to 20 miles, depending on what the partners want to see. Otherwise, the whole map would look like a bad case of road rash. You would not be able to see hardly anything. But as we drill down into these food deserts, you'll notice that some of them have a very crimson color. And sorry for the scrolling action here. Go out a little bit more. There we go. And we can see what's going on in these areas. So for example, you'll notice here, if I was just doing analysis and trying to evaluate what's going on in Dallas based on anything that we know about Dallas, we see feeding all around. But notice this food desert with a poverty rate of 54.7%. Folks are averaging, their median's $20,000 a year income. A lot of kids, almost 33% of that are children, and about 10% are seniors. But in this particular tract, notice that there are no applications. So that's a red flag saying, hey, we need to find some partners in that area, someone who knows the area, so that they can find out what's going on. Because clearly we know that income very often accompanies problems with food insecurity. So we can see that. Some other things that you can see in our system, you can obviously look at things from a county level. So if I flip on the county layer, and I'm going to zoom out a little again, and we can see what's going on in the counties around these major metropolitan areas. For example, this is Dallas County and Tarrant. I guess I'm saying that right. Ellis, Kaufman.
Yeah, that's all DFW,
and
DFW area.
It's all DFW, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can see what's going on in the counties on those levels as well. You can do the same thing with zip codes. We can do that. The point of showing you all of this is to help you be encouraged to know that you have massive amounts of information and data. And so one of our core competencies is to help folks ferret out this information. So to make it concrete for you, there's a lot of reports that we can run. And I'm just going to show you a couple examples, and then we'll close this out and take some questions. So in our system, we have a bunch of reports that we can show folks. I'm just going to pick the applicant health report to give you some idea of how we use these systems. So let's say I'm curious about cancer in our applicant pool. Where is it showing up? What's going on? And maybe I'll look at the applicant pool for 2020. Run the report. And what comes back, and let me zoom in a little bit for you. What it comes out with a nice little bubble distribution chart here where it shows you that for our applicant pool, yours may be different, but our applicant pool, it looks like there's about, just doing some eyeballing on it, there's about 5 to 7% of them have problems with cancer. Most of them are clustered around 5 to 7%. There are some outliers. Obviously, there are some that are 100% cancer. That's probably just a couple of applicants in a small state. But we also can see the total of people that are ill. The median average within an applicant pool is about 20. So for any given applicant pool at any time in any state, the median says, based on this bubble chart, it's about 20. It's about 20 out of the size of the applicant pool. And of course, you can drill down and look through the individual states and that sort of thing. And you start ferreting out all kinds of really interesting data and information that you can't normally see. You know, in the heat of the battle, when we're all trying to feed people, we're unloading food and we're giving to whoever seems to be in need, and we're looking for these massive lists, it can be overwhelming. So what we're trying to do is to become experts at brokering solves for food insecurity, and to help others, help partners, help applicants, help donors use every dime possible as efficiently as possible in the most critical areas of need. One more report I'll show you is, let's take a look at the COVID-19 impact report, which is, I think, is a very interesting one. We'll look at it for 2020. We'll look at all of the states to give you a bird's eye view of what we see from our applicant pool last year. So in the United States, we have found that overall, very nearly 40% of the applicants, someone suffering or afflicted with food insecurity and that sort of thing, we did a correlational analysis and found, surprisingly, that it was not employment that was the main driving vector of problems. It was actually medical. Because at first you would think, well, everybody's not infected with COVID, but it's killing the economy. So you would think it would be employment, but we found it was very different. Rick, do you want to speak to that from an executive perspective?
This really was, if I can be brutally honest and transparent, this was where the rubber met the road for us as mission-minded people. We had spent so many years and so much time feeding, and very proud that we were able to provide, almost 150 million meals and 800,000 volunteers coming. I mean, we were proud of those and realized that for us anyway, feeding had really been a numbers game. It had, and I don't want to minimize what we've done because it's, just imagine not having that extra food in our country. But we never asked, why are they hungry? And as we started looking, and this COVID-19 correlation was a really good one, we just assumed, well, it's COVID and people are losing jobs. But the people particular to our program were afraid to go out of their home. Many seniors, almost all of the seniors that we fed in here, it was a combination of being afraid to go out of their home because of health issues. And as we started asking more questions, what we saw was that 3 out of 5 of every one of our families that said, I am hungry, was also battling a chronic illness or disease. I mean, I am hungry and I have cancer. I am hungry and I have arthritis or diabetes, or I have hypertension, heart disease, lung disease. Those are just our top 5. COVID rounded off as number 6 for us. And so it was interesting that the people who found their way to our program, and we don't advertise, they found their way because we met a specific need, a contactless social distancing model of providing food as a food bank. And so I think what this highlights from a technological standpoint, and Ezekiel, I'll jump back over and share my screen. From a technological standpoint, it really shows that if you use technology in your feeding program, and again, ours is feeding people, yours could be food distribution, for-profit, nonprofit, it doesn't matter. Technology really provides an actionable insight into the business of food. And we're a nonprofit, but at the very same time, we're a distribution chain, food supply chain. We are also, because of technology now, an organization who is looking at health inequities and looking for ways to identify both the root causes of hunger, because as I showed you in the USDA data at the beginning here, the most recent data, you can throw $100 billion at it and not solve the problem. You can feed millions of people and not solve the problem if you're only feeding. And if you're only feeding, you will feed them. And from what we're learning, you will feed their next generation and the next generation and the next. And for us, it is about solving the problem and working with individuals who solve the problem. So when we are looking at our mapping and our data, and we saw this, that chronic illnesses represented nearly 70% of the homes we were helping, well, we realized immediately that hunger is a health issue. Said differently, based on our data, hunger is a health crisis, and a very unjust and unnecessary crisis in a country as our own. I think the last thing I'd say from a executive viewpoint of the organization is that we had to become data driven. The data said this was the issue, and so we quickly pivoted and said, well, all right, we're not gonna meet that need with just the food we're serving today. Folks are grateful for it, but it's not enough. We've got a ton of people who need anti-inflammatory foods in their diet. And so we introduced, after finding the right partner, we introduced Full Cart Fresh. Very difficult feat to get off the ground. And yet we're excited that we're launching that in the Southeast and the Northeast and expanding. But we did that because our data said 3 of 5 of our food insecure homes have chronic illnesses that need anti-inflammatory food. They need healthy, fresh food. And 2.1 of those impacted homes have more than one chronic disease. They have at least 2. And just through last year, we reported nearly 60,000 incidents of unique illnesses in those families. And so you have to be data driven. And so for us, Full Cart Fresh was the way to do that. I think I'll end by sharing a video that I think will capture our program. And I'm really proud of the team putting this together. But this is what we call our journey of a box. And so I think it captures the program overall.
And then Rick will go to the questions after the video.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll turn it over to you, Joy.
Well, no, I'm gonna let you show the video first. Oops. Hey, Rick.
There's no sound on this side, Rick.
Okay. Are you not getting sound? Do you all have sound on your side?
No.
Say that again. Well, we will make sure you guys have it in the expo to watch for sake of time. I'm sure we've got some questions, and you can go directly to ushunger.org/donate, and you'll see that video right there at the top.
Okay.
So Joy,
Okay,
that means
cool.
we need to turn it over to you.
Okay, so I want to take the next few minutes and just chat with these guys about this because I'll just let you guys know I met Rick through our Refresh Food and Tech group, and he and I have been talking ever since. I've been totally amazed by their pivot, the work, the resulting product. Just meeting Ezekiel and the work that's really been done from a technological perspective. As you guys know, I was a product manager for many years in our data in data platforms, and so I'm totally geeked out by by the pivot and by the data and what they've been doing and how that's driving directly to how that drives directly to people's doors and then into someone's life. And so I want to start first with Nina. Nina's question is about the experience and the journey that you would have seen. So how do you reach families and individuals that don't have access to technology, and how to get to populations like seniors up to speed on how to use the tech? So I'm gonna take those two separate things. So let's talk about what is that journey? How does an individual come to a box, whether they have tech or not? How do they find this? How do they come to the food bank? Let's just say that.
It's a really good question. And there's two ways. Organically, folks just find their way to us. But 90% of the feeding that we do for families and seniors in need are through partners. So we have a collection of virtual pantry partners. So most food banks feed through a network of pantries and soup kitchens, et cetera. We're no different. It's just a virtual platform. So we have partners regionally, some nationally, some locally. For example, Cigna Healthcare Foundation is our presenting sponsor for 2020, and they feed in 14 markets. We work with the Children Aid Society and the Boys and Girls Club in the Harlem market in New York. So we have a variety of partners, and we actually prefer the partners because we don't have all the answers. This is designed to be a platform for good work. Those partners know the reach and the need in the community and can partner with us because our program is fully donor funded, and we can work together collectively to get the donations. And in some of our partners, we jointly work through grant opportunities as well. So primarily through our pantry partner network, our virtual pantry network is how we feed. Then we have a lot of sponsors corporations, as you'll see a lot of the blue dots on that map. Those represent both our pantry partners, they represent sponsoring partners. Some of them are national organizations you'd easily recognize. And it's the collection of those people that are really the magic. It's not us. It starts when a partner says, this makes no sense. We're gonna feed somebody. And when they do that, the 250,000 nearly people we fed, it's been because of all of those blue dots you see on the map.
So I could be someone whose child, a parent, visits the Boys and Girls spends time in the Boys and Girls Club in Harlem, and one of the facilitators there enrolls me in a standing program that they're participating in.
Yeah, if they're a partner of ours, then they will do the intake and get those individuals to us. Once it enters our system, we then contact those folks directly. And two, I think the part B of the questioner's question, there are many that have the issue with the digital divide, and what we found as a dramatic solve has been SMS, texting capabilities. And so we have incorporated that, and that has been a night and day dramatic shift for us. In fact, we found texting engagement is much more productive and powerful than even the online platform. And for us, we're a small organization, so that would be a lot of phone work these states. So it helps us.
It'll be the same. I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, no, I'll just say it's a tremendous help, the texting capabilities and technology. We've we've invested in that alongside the virtual platform.
And it would be the same for our seniors, right? I happen to be a senior who engages in one of the partner or pantry or other organizations who are already partners, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll just follow up with Nina's other bit here real quick, and then I'll come to your question, Ricardo. How do you become a partner? Nina says she's participates in a Feeding America member food bank serving 2 counties in Colorado. Would be interested in learning how a partnership works. How do you connect to become a partner in an area? Like you and I have talked about this as well, having partners in the Austin area. How do you become a partner bank or pantry?
That's a great question. And we'll put up a slide at the end or make sure it's in the expo. Go to partner, and excuse the name difference there. We're literally just launching our rebranding, feedingchildreneverywhere.com. So partner at feedingchildreneverywhere.com. Just have them.
Sarah's putting some up in the chat too.
Perfect. Yeah. Send us a note, capture that email address. And we will have one of our team members or myself reach out to you directly and kind of talk through your specific circumstances. Keep in mind, we are a fully donor-based program. So much like the food banks out there, we rely on the generosity of partners. But if you know the local need, we'd love to work with you on building a case or even grant opportunities to provide feeding directly in your area. And I think the big benefit for us is the data you see, the reporting you see. We also provide that. It's important to us that you walk away not just feeling good that you fed families, but really having insight to, oh my God, I didn't know that about my own neighborhood. I didn't realize, I live in a decent area, and yet why are there 27 people right here in my area, in my neighborhood? Yeah. Hopefully that helps.
So let me come to the geeky platform questions. So Ricardo, my friend Ricardo, is wondering what is the source of the data? Don't want to get it proprietary, but just how are you guys? It's amazing amount of data. It's amazing data to clean and validate and understand and slice and dice. And he's just curious about data sources and how do you guys just generally, if you can, Ezekiel, don't go crazy. Just
Sure. Well, essentially, there's some data that's public domain that all of us have paid for that you can get from CDC, you can get from the Census Bureau. Those things are all public domain. The hard part is doing all of the mapping or translating it in the software so that you can easily manipulate it because it's millions of data points. So that's the part where all the work is going to have to go. But our applicant data, which is specific to us, plus U.S. Census data, plus CDC data, plus auxiliary data sets describing things like comorbidities, rates of infection, that sort of thing. So when you get all of that, it's going to require, quite honestly, a pretty significant effort with machine learning and also big data in order to massage that and get something meaningful out of it so that it doesn't just overwhelm you.
Absolutely. Are you guys making that data available to organizations? Of course, that data has value unto itself for us to just understand our communities, just to learn, what's happening, be able to get that data from you guys and just partner at a data level.
Yeah, big picture, that is the goal for us. Quite naturally, it looks like we've been at this forever, but this is about an 11-month-old baby, and we're still perfecting it. Most important for us is the security levels and ensuring that we're HIPAA compliant all the way through. And so as we work through those, and we are looking for partners to really help us finish our tech journey of build out. We've done this all on our own.
You need a data platform product manager, don't you?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So yes, it is coming. Our goal is to be able to give this away to the world. Right now, if you're partnering with us, our partners are getting this reporting directly. But we will build a licensing platform for partners who work with us, and eventually look out for what we are building and calling Resource Connect. We hope that one day we are a place. I know my team's glad I plugged that we're a place one day where you can go and see a lot of insights on data that we know it's not out there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, Nina's saying the same thing here. We have a small data research team and collect a lot of data, and I think it's definitely an opportunity to collaborate. Yeah, absolutely, Nina. But just the work that you guys doing, and that's always very tough work. That's very hard. It's very hard, thoughtful work on the back end to be able to put all those vectors together. And actually, you know, I always tell people there's data, and then there's intelligence, and then there's knowledge.
Yeah.
And these are all different uses. And it takes a bit to get to each one of those steps that's actually actionable.
Yeah. And I will, if I can plug, Joy, we are absolutely looking for research partners, folks that want to dive in, come alongside us and provide analysis of some of this. We're open to having some of those conversations. Our goal, again, is to really build a platform of resources using this data.
Sure. We've got basically a minute here. Anything else? Need to go back onto the main stage. Anything else you guys want to toss out? How do people just reach you guys? If you want to toss that out, or Sarah, if you've got it, if folks want to follow up with you. I think she's got partner at feedingchildreneverywhere.com. I know you guys are rebranding. Anything else you want to toss out there, gentlemen?
They can go directly to ushunger.org, and they'll find out how to connect with us there. It'll get back to us as well. So Simon, you literally caught us in week one of rebranding, but they can get us there. Ezekiel, I don't know if you had any comments from a tech standpoint.
No, only one small addition, and that is that we're setting up an enterprise gateway, REST API services, you know, the whole thing, so that other organizations can create a composite system based on talking to our system for additional information.
You would give a REST API. I love that.
Yeah, we got you covered. We're working on it.
Awesome, very kind. All right, gentlemen, you guys are fantastic. You know I'm a total fangirl about what you're doing, and the data only makes it worse. And thank you guys. It only makes it worse.
Joy, thank you.
Oh, thank you guys. And thank everybody for coming into the session. Appreciate you guys immensely. And their video is in the expo, and to go and have a look at the amazing, amazing work these guys are doing, presenting a virtual food bank to the U.S. At ushunger.org. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, there it is.